it's working. Also look here. And then do a bit of a wee bit of a test. Test. 3, 2, 1.
ما يأتيهم
2, 1.
ما يأتيهم.
Cool. Alright. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. 3, 2. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Quran in English. My name is Ahmed and I'm happy to take you through a new chapter. We're going through chapter 21, Surah Al-Anbiya, the chapter of the prophets. This series is where I'm trying to look at the Quran from the very beginning until the very end. A little bit of a disclaimer about this channel. I am not a Quranic scholar, nor am I an Arabic linguist. I have not studied the Arabic language beyond school, and I did not study the Quran. In fact, this is my first read-through of the Quran, and I'm sharing my education journey with you. The purpose of what I'm doing is I'm trying to see what I can understand, and I'm not claiming to be an authority. I love the Quran. I believe it to be the Word of God. I'm very excited and very interesting, and this process has really made me enjoy reading the Quran, which I think is beautiful. I first tried to speed read through it the first time, and it didn't make sense. It felt repetitive. I didn't understand. But at this rate that I'm reading, at the rate that I'm explaining, is the best way that I feel that I can have a good starting understanding of the Quran, and I'm very excited to do so. It's been fun. We've read some very interesting chapters. Oh, yes. Actually, at the end of last chapter, Taha, we talked about prayer. The specific verse does not mention prayer. However, that is the only verse that I found in the Quran that indicates the 5 times in which we do pray. And it indicated them clearly. So I sent that verse to a few people that I discussed the Quran with. They did not like it. They're like, that's not about prayer. It's about tasbih or hamd. So bear in mind, people disagree with me. It's not exactly. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm trying my best to understand. And for me, it made sense, and I like it, and I appreciate it. So, yeah, that's enough of an intro before the episode. 2 minutes in, we're still in the Quran. Anyway. As we begin reading the Quran, we always say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, and off we go.
اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون.
The first thing that came to my mind is something very interesting. It says, approach for mankind their accounts. And we always get this feeling that the hour is coming, the time is near, the hour is now. So here it says, their account has approached for them while they are heedless and turning away, not really focused, not looking and not paying attention to the main point of life. They're kind of distracted by life, going around, moving their thingamabobbies. And I always used to wonder, why does the Quran say that the hour is so near? Why does it say it's approaching, it's near, the time is near, its time is now? And I always thought, Judgment Day, what was announced way back when, and it still hasn't come. So that doesn't feel near, so to speak. But in reality, for every human, the span of your life is actually very quick. It flashes by a lot quicker than you realize. Obviously, while you're living it, it feels like it's forever. But by the end of your life, you're like, whoa, where'd the time go? And so technically, for everyone, their hour is near. And when our hour is up, Judgment Day is shortly thereafter. So therefore, it is always true that the hour is near. It is always true that people's accounts are right around the corner. You think it's going to take a while. You never know when you get collected. But yeah, this verse is saying that the time for their account, their judgment has drawn near, and they're not paying attention, and they're turning away. You know, but we've seen this time and time again.
ما يأتيهم من ذكر من ربهم محدث إلا استمعوه وهم يلعبون.
It does not come to them from any remembrance, reminder, word, mention, verses from their Lord. It doesn't come to them anew, except that they hear it. And it says while they are while they're playing, which can mean that while they're listening to it jokingly. It can mean while they're playing with something else. It can mean when they're focused. Like either way, you can tell that they're not really. They hear the reminder of God. They hear people tell them, "Hey, by the way, God exists and God's real and God's there's the whole thing." But they're like, nah, I'm not. They're not focused. They're playing around. They're not really paying attention.
لاهية قلوبهم وأسروا النجوى الذين ظلموا هل هذا إلا بشر مثلكم أفتأتون السحر وأنتم تبصرون.
Their hearts are distracted. They're not really focused. And they conceal in private conversation the ones that do wrong. They kind of talk amongst themselves in private. And they say, is this not a human being? Is it not just a human guy? Is this... And this here we are understanding. It's the chapter of the prophets. But this is talking about specifically the Prophet Muhammad. It doesn't mention it now, but they will mention the Quran in a couple of verses. That kind of lets us understand that this is talking about the Prophet Muhammad. But essentially the people saying, is he not just a guy? Ain't he just like all of you? He's human, right? And then they say, أَفَتَأْتُونَ السِّحْرَ وَأَنْتُمْ تُبْصِرُونَ. Do you approach magic while you see it? Here they've translated it to, would you fall for this witchcraft even though you can clearly see? Which I kind of understand the element of falling for it. Like approaching someone who's casting a spell is like falling for their illusion. I do kind of see the translation of would you fall for them. I think it kind of makes sense. And let's keep it at that. I was going to say a couple different explanations. Do you approach magic as it could be something else? But I think let's just keep it at, would you fall for this witchcraft even while you can clearly see? And essentially everyone's like, he's just a charlatan. Like it's just a magic trick. It's just, why are you falling for his charm?
قال ربي يعلم القول في السماء والأرض وهو السميع العليم.
When I first read this and I saw the word the prophet, which I told you it is about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I was like, oh, it's very interesting that it said he said. Normally the Quran, when it talks to the prophet, it says say, it tells the prophet to say something. So I thought this was very interesting that it said, this is what he said. And I feel like when I was first reading this, that this could apply to all the messengers. But again, the next verse will let us know that it's the Prophet Muhammad. So even though I know that, I'm still kind of having the confusion. Anyway, it says, he said, my Lord, my God knows the word in the heavens and the earth, which means you can conceal what you want, you can speak, you can talk amongst each other in private. Yeah, hey Mahab, I saw your message. I was going to reply after this verse. Say, my Lord knows what is being said in the heavens and in the earth. He knows everything that exists. Sorry, there was something that was stuck in my throat. It felt like a hair or something. So he says he knows what's in the heavens and the earth. He knows what you're saying behind closed doors and whispering about him. He is the all-hearing and all-knowing. And I do feel like all of them could say this, but we'll see the next verse why it's talking about the Quran.
بل قالوا أضغاث أحلام بل افتراه بل هو شاعر فليأتنا بآية كما أرسل الأولون.
This is exactly why I think they're talking about the Prophet Muhammad, is specifically the word poet. Sure, Mahab. Yeah, so here it says, nay, they say that it's muddled dreams, that what he's producing is coming from dreams. He's having a dream, he's confused, he's having something relate to him through the dreams, and he's like, oh, wow, this is some... They're talking about the Quran, that what he's sharing is muddled dreams. And then they say, nay, he invented it. No, he made it up. No, first it's wild dreams. No, he invented it. No, he's a poet. So let him bring to us a sign like what was sent to the former, the ones who came from before. So for me, poet really kind of indicates that it's the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Though I am curious, did the previous prophets reveal... I mean, obviously the Quran is being preserved by God, but a question that I have is, did the previous prophets produce something in poetic form as well? I don't know what Moses produced. I know that the Torah is from God, inspired by God. I don't know if it's in poetic form. I know some parts of the Bible are written translations in poetry, but I don't think that all poetry includes this. Either way, simplest Occam's razor, we're talking about the Prophet Muhammad. They don't know what he did, but they're saying it's wild dreams, he invented it, he's a poet. And then they say, why don't he bring us a verse, a sign, not a verse, a sign. It's the same word for verse and it's the same word for sign. You have to understand the concept. A sign as was sent to the former. Now, what was sent to the former, to the former prophets from before? Now, the first thing that I think of is Moses and Jesus, right? And they had some very clear signs, and they had some very powerful, like Moses split the Red Sea, there was the water coming out of the rock, Jesus brought people back to life, and healed the sick. But I think the signs that they're talking about here are more the death and devastation and destruction. At least that's the context I understand it, based off of the next verse.
ما آمنت قبلهم من قرية أهلكناها أفهم يؤمنون.
Did not believe from before them any village which we destroyed. Any village that we destroyed did not believe from before them. And that's why I again, it doesn't say the words after receiving the sign, but I kind of understood that's what they're saying. Because they're saying, like, show us a sign. And then the first thing that says, any of the destroyed villages before did not believe. No. Yeah, okay. So after receiving the signs, I don't think the signs were the destruction, but I do think they were given signs. For instance, we know Saleh had the she-camel. And I expect all the prophets had some form of miraculous element to them, right? The idea, the understanding behind Sayyidina Muhammad, Jesus, and Moses is that they came in and their signs were a sign of the times, so to speak. Moses came to the Pharaoh and the mages, and we saw mage wars in the previous one, and he had magic. Jesus came to the Romans and the apothecaries who had the best medicine in the lands, and he had healing and bringing back from the dead. Muhammad came to the Arabs who excelled in poetry, and he was able to relate to them the Quran that is the miracle. The Quran is miraculous. It's in perfect Arabic grammar. It is extensive. And that's why they called him a poet in the previous verses. And in another verse in the Quran, it says that he's not a poet. Just to clarify, Muhammad did not have the ability to produce these type of words, and therein lies the miracle. He was not a poet. He could not create the beauty and the structure of the Quran. It had to be revealed through God, and that's the miracle. So I mean, the same can be extrapolated about the other messengers and other prophets. Here, let's focus on the prophets because this chapter is called the Prophets chapter. Do all prophets have signs? I don't know. But essentially, the Quran here is saying, no village believed from before them. ما آمنت قبلهم من قرية أهلكناها. If the village was destroyed, they did not believe, right? أَفَهُمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So do they believe? And I find it in response to, like, they're asking for a sign, and then it's talking about, no village was destroyed that believed. Or no, that did not believe the villages that were destroyed. The villages that were destroyed did not believe, so to speak.
وما أرسلنا قبلك إلا رجالا نوحي إليهم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
Okay. And we did not send from before you except men that we reveal to them, we inspire to them, we convey to them the message that they should reveal to you. And it's kind of the same, and this has always been the case. Every single messenger, including the prophet, every single prophet, including the prophet, every single prophet, including Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Jesus, Moses, you name it, any prophet of God was just a man that was being inspired to by God. And then here it says something very interesting. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. So ask the people of remembrance, ask the people of the reminder, then ask those who have scripture, if you do not know. And this is a very common expression used in the Quran. And I believe I have a different perspective on what this means than what the traditional sense is. And the traditional sense is people go who have knowledge of the scriptures. Essentially, they're saying any scholars, that's who you should ask if you don't know. And people take that as an explanation of if there's something you don't understand in the Quran, then you have to go to people who have studied it in order to get the right answer. And I don't think that's accurate. Which, again, spicy topic. We're not going to mention what we're not looking at. But I think, in a way, it is the people that are studying the history and studying what we remember. It's kind of talking more about the historians than it is about the scholars. It's not talking about those who sit and analyze, but those who memorize or who tell the stories of old, right? Because, the first part of this verse is talking about everyone that was sent for before was just men that we revealed to them. A part of me I had a different idea about أسألوا أهل الذكر. What does أهل الذكر mean? Does it mean every scholar? Does it mean the ultimate scholars? Does it mean a specific school of scholars? How do you know who the أهل الذكر is? So I thought maybe the Quran was going to be referring to them in a different kind of concept, in a different kind of way, like there's a specific subset of people. But I think they're just simply historians. But again, I'm learning through the Quran. I'm sure this verse will come up in multiple times, and I'm sure I'll have multiple different understandings of it. But it says, ask the people of the reminder, ask the people of remembrance, if you do not know. And what do you not know? The men were revealed to them. They were just men that were revealed to. Which I feel like, those who have knowledge of the scriptures, I think makes a lot of sense, right? Those who studied the scriptures, those who, like, from Jewish scriptures, from Christian scriptures, even from Muslim scriptures, like they're kind of like what has been said in the past. I still don't take it as scholars are the key. I don't see that this means scholars, but I think of the minority of people that does not see that. But yeah, let's not spend too much time on this topic, because it's a point of contention.
وما جعلناهم جسدا لا يأكلون الطعام وما كانوا خالدين.
And very clearly, these prophets, we did not make them their bodies that they do not eat. We did not make them like not needing food. They were human. They needed food. They're not eating food, and they were not immortals. They're prophets. They're men. They had basic human needs like eating, and they all died. Very simple.
ثم صدقناهم الوعد فأنجيناهم ومن نشاء وأهلكنا المسرفين.
And we've seen this in the previous verses. And then we fulfilled for them. I'm tired of the vibrations. And then we fulfilled for them the promise. And we saved them and who we willed, and we destroyed the transgressors. And it's very interesting because I've had a theory that messengers and prophets, the difference between them is that the messengers deliver a message of act right or you will be destroyed, and the prophets deliver a prophecy. But I think it's a very immature and naive theory, and I have to think about it some more. Either way, it says, and then we fulfilled for them the promise, and the promise usually is when these messengers, when these prophets come to the people, they're like, by the way, something bad's about to happen. A flood's coming, a scream, a scrouch. You guys are transgressing. If you don't do right, God's going to punish you. And that's what the fulfilling of the promising is. And when that fulfillment of the promise comes, we save them and whom we willed. So we save the prophets, the people who do good, and the people who do good, and we destroy the transgressors. And that's been a model that is seen time and time and time again in the Quran, but is not seen in our recent history. I don't even think since the time of Jesus, to be honest. The last Moses, as far as I can tell, I don't know if there was anyone between Moses and Jesus. There probably was a lot of. There was definitely a lot of people between Moses and Jesus. But we know Moses was the last messenger / prophet to bring down divine judgment upon the pharaohs. There might have been a few after him, I don't know, but Jesus did not bring down divine punishment, and Muhammad brought down divine punishment through the hands of the Muslims. In Surah At-Tawbah that we covered, chapter 9, the most controversial chapter of the Quran that doesn't start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, God's judgment was delivered at the hands of the Muslims, which is unique and something that hasn't been done before, you know? But the reason why I brought that up is because since the time of Jesus, so let's say 2,000 years ago, we haven't seen God destroying the transgressors, or we have not heard about them, right? I don't think that there have been any specific, maybe there have been, I don't know, but we haven't heard about them, right? So from our perspective, where is God's divine punishment? Is that done? I don't think it's done. I think there's more of it to come, and I think that's why the Quran talks about it so often, because it's not just talking about it, oh, it's in the past and now it's a new world. No, I think it's talking about it because like it can happen, and it will happen, I imagine.
لقد أنزلنا إليكم كتابا فيه ذكركم أفلا تعقلون.
Indeed, we sent down to you a book. In it is your mention. Then will you not use your reason? Now, this is a very interesting expression. We sent down a book, which we kind of understand it to be the Quran. But again, when we see the word book, it is comprised of multiple things. It can also include the Torah, the Zabur, David's Psalms, and the Injil. And it says, in it is your mention. In it is here, and I read some of the Tafsir. It said glory or honor. That's how they kind of translate it for you. But I'm like, that's not the word that's being used. Dhikrukum. Dhikr is very important. Dhikr is the remembrance. The dhikr is the reminder. Dhikr can sometimes mean the Quran, can sometimes mean, like, it's a very specific, unique key word. And here it's saying dhikrukum, as in the reminder, the mention, the something of you. I just find it very interesting. I don't think the explanation that it is glory or honor makes any sense. I don't see it. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ. Maybe the explanation is that if you follow the book, then you will have honor. it's a very far-fetched explanation that does not sit right with me at all. أفلا تعقلون. But the fact that the mention is a lot of the times there, I think is very interesting. It could be also talking about the mention and the remembrance of the people of around the time of the Prophet Muhammad, that their story is revealed in the Quran. I'm not sure. I don't fully understand it, but I'm just saying that glory and honor, just I don't get it. أفلا تعقلون. Then do you not understand? No, I do not. Astaghfirullah al-Azim.
وكم قصمنا من قرية كانت ظالمة وأنشأنا بعدها قوما آخرين.
And how we have shattered from a village, a town that was unjust, and we produced after it another people that are there. And this is exactly what I said. The Quran's full of stories of people acting poorly. God sends down punishment, and then other people come and take their place. Reset. Noah's flood reset on a hard level across the whole world. But we see this time and time and time again. See it metaphorically, not literally, obviously. But yeah.
فلما أحسوا بأسنا إذا هم منها يركضون.
So when they perceived our torment, then they are fleeing from it. Behold, behold's a strong word. Then they started fleeing from it. Behold's just such a strong word. But essentially, when the societies were wrong, they're about to torment them. When the people, the wrongdoers, are like, the torment's coming, they wanted to run, but as they're running, they were told,
لا تركضوا وارجعوا إلى ما أترفتم فيه ومساكنكم لعلكم تسألون.
Now this is very interesting. It says they were told, do not run and return to where you were given luxury in it and your homes, so that you may be questioned. Which is like, huh? Question mark? Because it's like, who's saying this? And if they are fleeing from their homes, are they able to listen rationally? The one thing that I would imagine is that this is some form of command or instruction or something given by God or an angel, for example, something that would be more terrifying for them than the torment that they're suffering. And essentially they're told, no, go back, get your suffering. You're going to be asked right where you are. That makes a bit more sense, because who's going to be telling them as they're running away from the torment of God, don't run and go back to your homes? And who would they listen to? A human who tells them, no, go back to the suffering so that you may be questioned? I cannot imagine anyone who's terrified to listen to any human. But I can't imagine if they're being commanded, do not run and return, then they would do so, which kind of has a lot of severe implications. But it's also an interesting way of how God would ensure that the transgressors suffer the punishment. For example, the perfect story that comes up to mind is the wife of Lut. Technically, Lut and his family escaped at night before the judgment, because they were told by God, people, they've gone too far, we're going to destroy them, take your family and get out. And she turned back, right? So I imagine this is exactly what was told to her in a way. But I'm not sure. I just have a question mark of who says this, to go back so that you may be questioned.
قالوا يا ويلنا إنا كنا ظالمين.
They say, woe to us, indeed we were wrongdoers. And this is very clear. When it's Judgment Day, when it's the punishment coming down that God is sending, that is when the wrongdoers go, we messed up. And it's too late. At that point, If you're seeing God's judgment, it's too late. Wrap it up. Ain't nothing to see, ain't nothing to hear. You're screwed.
فما زالت تلك دعواهم حتى جعلناهم حصيدا خامدين.
فما زالت تلك دعواهم. Oh, their cries did not cease. Their cries of, oh, woe to us, we are wrongdoers, we are wrongdoers. They keep saying we're wrongdoers, we messed up, we're wrong, we did wrong, we're kind of in a way we're sorry, until we have made them reaped and extinct. They keep saying it until they evaporate, as I've been hearing it recently. What is the verse? Extinguished like ashes. Wonderful. Yeah, hasidan is reaped. It's talking about crops that have been culled. Essentially, you've been chopped down, no longer alive, extinct. Oh, extinct was the word. Nice.
وما خلقنا السماء والأرض وما بينهما لاعبين.
Okay, now here it says, and we did not create the heavens and the earth and what is in between them for while we were playing. So here they translate, we did not create the heavens for sport. It's not, I think it's there's also a juxtaposition, there's also like a duality, because sometimes the Quran talks about life being nothing but a distraction, a play, a confusion, but that's from our perspective. From our perspective, everything in life is designed to distract us from the main purpose of why we're here and where we're going and why are we on this earth and what we're trying to do. While the earth and everything in it is a distraction for us, it was not created as a game from the perspective of God. God did not create all these distractions and things. It's a game. It's a test. It's so much more profound. It's so much more intentional. It's so much more serious. That's kind of essentially what is being said in these verses.
لو أردنا أن نتخذ لهوا لاتخذناه من لدنا إن كنا فاعلين.
If we had intended that we take a pastime, then surely we would have taken it from near us. Like if we wanted to play around, we wouldn't have gone to all the trouble of creating the earth and the heavens and the systems and the nature and everything. We would have just, and heavens is, we have to kind of separate paradise from heaven. There seems to be a distinction between them. But like say the skies and the earth, and they wouldn't have gone through all this to create all this information if it was just a game. If they just wanted to, if we had wanted to, then we would have taken it from within us. Like if we just wanted to play around, it would have been in heaven, simulation, over and done, if we were to do this. If it had been our will, we would have taken some amusement. We could have, if we taken it as a pastime, if we had taken it as a game, as a distraction, we would have done it around us. We wouldn't have gone through the whole creation and humanity and earth and something so distinct from the heaven. And it's much more involved. And the fact that we're in this world is an indication of how kind of serious it is. It's very interesting.
بل نقذف بالحق على الباطل فيدمغه فإذا هو زاهق ولكم الويل مما تصفون.
Nay, we hurl the truth against the falsehood, which I love that expression. So it breaks his head, and behold, it is vanishing. And I love that. The truth shall set you free, but it's more like someone's going to say a lie, and if you say the truth is going to destroy the lie. And there's kind of a power to that, especially in the world of today, especially in the world of AI creating fake news and fake articles and fake concepts. And then you have, of course, politicians shouting from the rooftop whatever they feel like. And people believing it as if it's true and believing it as if it's fact. is very difficult to understand what to believe. But the truth shall set you free is a very powerful statement. And the Quran is saying, we hurl truth against falsehood, leaving it crushed, breaking its head. Yeah, I kind of understand that. And behold how it's vanishing. Like, it's a very powerful visual and the power of truth. And for you, woe to be for what you describe. Destruction isn't the right word. Woe is the right word, because it's the same word, wail. We've been translating wail for woe throughout. وَيْلٌ وَلَكُمْ الْوَيْلُ مِمَّا تَصِفُونَ. Woe to you for what you describe. And woe to you can sometimes mean that, you're about to get destroyed. What are they describing? Here they make the claim that God has a partner in children, which I'm like, that's not really being said in these verses, but it's being said in the next couple of verses.
وله من في السماوات والأرض ومن عنده لا يستكبرون عن عبادته ولا يستحسرون.
And to him belongs what is in the heavens and the earth, and those who are near him, they are not arrogant. They are not too arrogant to worship him, and nor do they tire. To God belongs the heavens and the earth, and those nearest to him are not too proud to worship him, nor do they tire. Now, an understanding can be about this is that this is talking about the angels, because the angels are close to God. But I also see this in terms of the devout believers. The devout believers are not arrogant about his worship. They're really devout. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You're not too smart. You're not too great. You're not too strong in order to not seek assistance from God. And they do not tire. Again, those who are truly devout and who truly believe in God and revere him, you can get there, by the way. Just because you start out in the beginning, you're like, oh, I get tired from prayer, doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. This is talking about those وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ. Well, those nearest to him is an understanding. وَمَنْ عِنْدَهُ, those are with him. It might be the angels, but I still felt like some humans are near to God in that sense that they've been worshiping and they've been praying. And I'm feeling myself getting nearer to God as time passes by. I'm praying as often as I can. I've been very good at prayer recently. And the more that I read the Quran, the closer I feel to God. And I feel like it's not one of those things where I can kind of let it go. The more that I continuously try to seek and learn and ask God for guidance and read the Quran, ask God for guidance and pray, the closer I get to God. And the more that I feel like I don't tire from talking about God and from praying to God. Not that I'm saying that I am this, but I'm trying at least this is my goal. I don't want to be arrogant. I always want to worship him, and I don't want to tire of worshiping him. And the more that I worship God, the more that I pray to God, the more that I get closer to God, the better it feels. I trust God with all my heart, which is a very, very important thing.
يسبحون الليل والنهار لا يفترون.
They glorify him night and day, and they do not slacken. Again, could be talking about the angels, but I feel like this can refer to a few people as well. And it's something that we can aspire to at the very least.
أم اتخذوا آلهة من الأرض هم ينشرون.
There's a couple ways that I could understand this verse. But the first part is very easy. However, have they taken gods from the earth? Very clear, they've taken gods from the earth. It says, hum yunshirun, they raise. So here they're saying who can raise the dead. I could also understand it while they will be raised. That which is they're taking as gods. Because I have seen other verses in the Quran talk about that, right? And talk about that which they worship on Judgment Day will distance itself from those who worship them and go like, we don't know them. They don't know us. They ain't my problem. Both explanations can kind of make sense. the gods from the earth who can raise the dead and the gods from the earth who will be raised. Because it doesn't, أَمْ اتَّخَذُوا آلِهَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ هُمْ يُنْشِرُونَ. They raise. Maybe it talks about them raising the idea of that which they worship. There's lots of ways to understand this. It's very interesting. But either way, do they take other gods in the earth? And it explains why there couldn't be other gods.
لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا فسبحان الله رب العرش عما يصفون.
If there were in both of them gods, لو كان فيهما, if it was in both of them, the heaven and the earth. Oh, in both of them? Why didn't it only mention the earth? I would expect it. The night and day was mentioned. No, but that's not. لو كان فيهما آلهة. In both of them. I mean, the first thing that I thought of was the heaven and the earth, but the previous verse just talks about the earth. أَمْ اتَّخَذُوا آلِهَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ هُمْ يُنْشِرُونَ لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتها. And here they've translated it to the heavens and the earth. Corrupted. But I just find it strange that it just jumped into both of them without saying what it just mentioned, the earth. Obviously it makes sense that it's the earth and the heavens. But the heavens is often referred to as multiple heavens. Yeah. Anyway, let's just explain what the verse says. If there was in both of them gods except God, then they surely would have been ruined. They would have been corrupted. Had there been other gods beside God, there would have been corruption. فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَرْشِ عَمَّا يَصِفُونَ. Glorified be to God, the Lord of the throne, above what they attribute. God is above what they claim that there are other gods. Whether they raise the dead or will be raised is a separate story.
لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون.
Will not be questioned about. Okay, God will not be questioned about what He does. But they will be questioned. And I found this to be very interesting. When I first came into reading the Quran, this is kind of one of the things that I struggled with. But I also struggled with this when I was more arrogant, and when I was, ironically, me reading the Quran, trying to understand it on my own way, is a form of arrogance. But like, still, when I was more arrogant than I am now, if you could imagine it, I struggled with the idea that God will not be questioned, but we will be questioned, and that you have to always trust God. You're not trustworthy, but God is 100% trustworthy, and you have to I struggled with the idea of not asking God questions and not getting answers, you know? But now my attitude has shifted, and I only trust God. I don't even trust myself as much as I trust God. I used to trust myself 100% because I'm like, I've been by my side. I'm doing my best. I'm, giving it the best that I can. So I trust that I'm going to give it my best go at every opportunity. But now I don't trust myself in the sense that sometimes I'll go like, yeah, what if I make a mistake? What if I have a lapse in judgment? What if I'm confused? What if I'm this? So, whereas the one thing that I 100% is God. And the only thing that I trust 100% is God. And it really took a shift in faith in order for me to appreciate a statement such as being said no. I definitely struggled for a long time giving God that full trust, right? It's also because I didn't really understand God. I feel like I understand God a lot better than what I used to before. But does anyone really know what God is? I mean, We have a lot of descriptors. But the point of the verse is God will not be asked about what he does, but they will be asked. The gods, the entities, the people, everybody will be asked. Will all be questioned. And here is where we talk about them taking, God taking a son, for example, which we referenced a couple verses ago.
أم اتخذوا من دونه آلهة قل هاتوا برهانكم هذا ذكر من معي وذكر من قبلي بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون الحق فهم معرضون.
Okay. A couple of things that are being said in this verse. First, أَمَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ آلِهَةً. Did they take besides him other gods? Oh, this is not the one about God having a son. It's the next verse. Whoops. Anyway, they said, have they taken other gods besides God? Have they taken other gods besides him? Say, bring your proof. Another statement that I struggled with, and I think I still struggle with, because constantly the Quran says, bring your proof about those other gods. And yet the atheists tell the people who believe, bring your proof that God exists. I struggle with the look at the stars in the sky to see God, because I did not see God in the stars in the sky. It only took a personal, relatable spiritual experience in order for me to open my eyes and ears and finally hear. And once I opened my eyes and ears, then I could see that there was God. But I needed to have the transformation within in order to believe. So if an atheist said, bring your proof that God exists, I'd be like, I don't know what to show you. I could tell you that the Quran is miraculous, but you're not going to believe me. And if you don't believe me, then there's no point in you reading it, because you read it, you're just not going to be appreciating it, right? You're not going to see the beauty, because that's what happened to me, right? I read the Quran before, and I was like, I don't know, I didn't get it, I didn't understand. So I always struggle with, say, give us your proof for the other gods, because what's the proof? Anyway. No. In this statement, the proof is the reminder, the Quran, aka. This dhikr, هذا ذكر من معي وذكر من قبلي. This is why I'm saying this, like dhikr sometimes means a reminder. This is a reminder for those who are with me, and a reminder, I didn't understand, for those who were before me. Because he's saying hada, which is this, which we understand it to be the Quran. Here's the Quran. The reminder for those with me makes sense. وَذِكْرُ مَنْ قَبْلِي, and a remembrance of those from before me. Even though it's the same words, I think it means different things, because I don't think the Quran was used to remind the people from before. But let's see what this verse, the little footnote says. The Prophet is ordered to challenge the pagans to produce logical scriptural proofs for the existence of other gods besides Allah. The verses then argue if there's more than one God, different gods would have fought among themselves for domination. The whole universe would have been ruined. That was in the previous verse. The Quran, the Torah, and the Gospel are all in agreement that there's only one God. Yeah, this footnote does not answer the question of وَذِكْرُ مَنْ قَبْلِي, and a reminder for those before me. It doesn't make sense that the Quran is a reminder for those before the Prophet, because the Quran came to the Prophet, and the people from before the Prophet don't have the Quran, therefore it cannot be a reminder for them. But the way that I understood it, وَذِكْرُ مِنْ قَبْلِي, and a remembrance of those from before me. Because dhikr, that's the power of the word dhikr. Dhikr can be the word reminder, because it's something that it's reminding you, the people around you, reminding you of the stories of old, and it is a reminder about what they did, right? It's a reference for the people around, something that and also we can kind of take it from the concept of dhikr being a remembrance, and saying the words, and saying God's names, and saying all these things that you can actively say, and things that you can remember. I believe it's using the double meanings of the word dhikr, not the same meaning of the word dhikr, because the idea that the Quran is a reminder for those from before the Prophet doesn't make sense to me. I hope that makes clear to you. But again, what do I know, right? بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون الحق. Sorry, I was just reading in Arabic. Sometimes you forget to translate. But most of them do not know the truth. So they are averse. So they turn away. And that used to be me. That's exactly what I was talking about. When I didn't know the truth, when I didn't know that the Quran was the word of God, when I could not validate it, I turned away. I didn't look. And that's why I struggle with bring your proof. What is the proof that we show to the atheists? Yeah. It's just something that I've always struggled. And if you have a different perspective on it, please feel free to drop a comment. I'd love to learn.
وما أرسلنا من قبلك من رسول إلا نوحي إليه أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدون.
So earlier in the chapter, I said that I wasn't sure. I thought messengers come, deliver the message, and then destruction comes, and prophets deliver a prophecy. And I said, oh, but this chapter is about the prophets. Therefore, this verse might be talking about the prophets. Not all verses talking about the prophets, and here is the prime example. And we did not send from before you except a messenger. Except a messenger that we reveal, we inspire, we tell him to him that there is no God but me, no God but I, so worship me. All the messengers, all the prophets, one message, there's only one God, worship only God. Very clear, very, very sweet. So that's why if we go back a few verses where it was talking about the death and destruction coming to cities, very well could have been talking about the messengers. And there is an overlap. Some messengers are prophets, some are just prophets, and some are just messengers, the way that I understand it. But anyone, in order for them to be a prophet, had to have a prophethood, a prophecy, something to tell them what is coming. Anyone who is a messenger has to have a message, and usually the message is, you about to get some God's divine punishment if you don't act right.
وقالوا اتخذ الرحمن ولدا سبحانه بل عباد مكرمون.
They said, the most gracious, the most merciful has taken a son, glory be to him. Nay, they're only slaves that are honored, his honored slaves. We know exactly who's being referred to as the Son of God. And don't see the word slaves as if it's in a negative connotation. The Quran calls us all slaves. Every single human on this planet is a slave to God, in the sense that we belong to God, right? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to God, and to him we shall return. That's the concept of slave. And most people have a negative connotation with the word slave, because when a human owns another slave, then it's a terrible thing. But when God owns us, it's a very normal thing. So it's not to disrespect Jesus in any way, to call him a slave. Muhammad was also called the same word, abd, slave. Some people prefer the term servant over slave, but either way, it's not being disrespectful by calling Jesus this word. Not calling you, that word. It's not about disrespect. It's about his. Yeah, and it says honored in the next verse. It's the honorable slaves also sounds like a wonderful mix of words to say in a row.
لا يسبقونه بالقول وهم بأمره يعملون.
They do not precede him in a word, and by his command they act. Who do not speak until he has spoken, and only acting by his command. Yeah, all the. It's interesting that it says multiple slaves when it's saying when God has taken a son. In fact, those angels are his offered on the servants. Then, what? Why? The most compassionate has taken an offspring, but specifically the word is a son. Why are we talking about some pagans claim that the angels are Allah's daughters? I think because it's translating, nay, they are slaves that are honored. They do not precede him with words, and they are by his command acting. A part of me is thinking that also the word Son of God is being used for more than just Jesus, by the way. Caesar was also called the Son of God, but I don't think this is talking about Caesar, for example. I can understand that they're confusing. Here it's clearly talking about, they say God has taken a son. That's Jesus. That's the one that we know. Maybe there are other instances, but it's taking a son and singular. Subhanahu. Bal ibadun mukramun. Nay, slaves that are honored. And that's why they kind of translate this to saying, they claim that the angels are Allah's daughters. Because there is a verse, there is a time, and there was a group of people that said that God has taken females as daughters. Angels as daughters. But I thought this was talking about, nay, there are slaves that are honored. It's talking about Jesus, because it was talking about the Son. It can be talking about angels in a way that they do not speak about word, and Him by His command they act. وَهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِ يَعْمَلُونَ. It does sound like He's talking about the angels, right? But I feel like there's a little bit of confusion. There's something missing here, in my opinion.
يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يشفعون إلا لمن ارتضى وهم من خشيته مشفقون.
I mean, we can kind of, yeah. And it applies to the angels, but it also kind of applies to the messengers or prophets, right? That they do not precede Him with a word, and by His command they act. The messengers and prophets also kind of do that. It could be the angels, and they're all slaves that are honored. They do not speed Him in a word. They act by His command, and He knows what is before them and what is behind them. Again, we were talking about we assume it's talking about chronologically speaking, and they do not intercede except for whomever He approves, and they are in awe of Him. Standing in awe. They are humble and they're standing in awe. Which again, it could be talking about the angels. I'm not denying that it talks about the angels, because intercession is an interesting word. We've covered it multiple times in the Quran. God decides who can intercede on somebody else's behalf. It could be an angel. It could be even a messenger. It could be a prophet. So وَهُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَتِهِ مُشْفِقُونَ. And they tremble in awe of Him. Yeah, I think very beautiful, very fantastic. Yeah, so we haven't gotten into the specific stories of the prophets, but we've kind of set the scene. We're talking about belief. We're talking about messengers. We're talking about prophets. We're talking about. We're getting there. Either way, I'm having fun. I love the Quran, and thank you if you've made it this far in the episode. Then you must love the Quran as well, because I cannot imagine listening to me for an hour if you don't. As usual, we always end with Sadaq Allahu al-Ali al-Azim. I thank you for watching me. I appreciate you. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Ma salama. Get out of here. Cringe Daddy's in chit. Bye. Aww. Aww. That's super sweet. All good. I understand and appreciate your respect. I really appreciate you watching and commenting. How I'm gaining views. I don't understand. Yeah, 75. How is it 75, bro? What? I don't understand the algorithm. I don't. Never will. Halas, I've decided God controls the algorithm. Ah, shit. Okay, Google. Play Hins Hall 1 by Macklemore.
Only she goes. The Israeli soldier.
Ah. Nice. But it must be told. I'll voice the bad guys. It must be her.
Hello, this is going to be a long video, but I have a lot to say, so bear with me. And we are now many who are safe and released from imprisonment and absurd mistreatment, but many of our comrades from Global Smooth Flotilla are not, and they need to be released now. But most importantly, we are not the story. Thousands of Palestinians are currently being held in Israeli dungeons without a trial, hundreds of which are children. Millions are living trapped under an illegal siege in an apartheid state and occupation, who are being systematically starved and bombed to pieces. Basic societal infrastructure is being targeted and destroyed, and Palestinians are being systematically deprived of their very, very basic rights and means to survive, such as producing their own food, controlling their own territorial waters, and children being able to go to school. And the whole world knows that this did not start on October the 7th, 2023. And these Israeli war crimes have happened with impunity and with help and legitimizations from our governments, institutions, and media. And this is the story.
Also, writing. If you need review. comedy is fun. But I have to get good in comedy. Shit. Mm.
It's not fair, is it, when a...
Yeah, I don't.
The British Bake Off, and I also have to watch that show with subtitles. Does anybody else? Oh, for the most part, you can understand them, but there was this one woman, her name was Rosie, loved her. She was a vet. Remember Rosie? But every time she talked, I didn't know what the she was talking about. They'd be like, okay, Rosie, what are you making today? I don't take it off, Bobby, 7 up and 2 in 4, not she 7 up and 5. 25 minutes later, I'm like, oh, she was making a chicken. But that's the thing. We watch that show because we love how they sound. We think the accents are endearing. And I don't think it's the opposite. I don't think that British people are watching...
هي اللي راح تتناكي. يجي كوكي من كل خازوق. This is kind of explain. I'm insisting what I'm not getting out of it. If you're here to, if you can handle what? Honey, everything is a skill. The first time you do it, you will suck at it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Except for sucking dick, bitch. She was born ready. Mm-hmm. You look so cute. You little faggot. You're not a faggot. You're a scraggot. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It looks cute. It looks like it suits you. It looks like this type of hair. Yeah, fantastic, great. Play with makeup, play it off. No, it's a good starter wearing. You got to start somewhere. It's fantastic. It's good in the sense that it suits your body type. Yes. Now I'm gonna say something that you might be disappointed in, but I don't care. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted, baby. I just had a boy for 3 days, and he's asked a lot of. I don't. I don't have to tell you about Michael now because I am tired. I'm communicating to you that I am farta. I'm exhausted. I was called you because you're super excited and I want you to be excited. I'm very excited for you. I'm very happy for you. It's very cool stuff, very great. But I don't have the capacity or the energy to talk or deal. So I'm gonna tell you I love you and I will update you and we'll do a call tomorrow. I'm getting a call. I gotta go answer it. Love you. Bye 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 bye. Hey, sweet. Yeah, but I'm just about to crash. What's. He left a few hours ago. I recorded the Quran and I am stowed. I'm finished. Are you okay? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Generally, the discomfort with being naked is always at the start. Best thing to do is to lower expectations. Expect that nobody will talk to you, expect that nobody will speak to you, and then just go and be naked. Once you're there, you'll get used to the environment, you'll get used to everybody, you'll see how horny everybody is. Swag is a very easy place to communicate with a lot of people. I think it'll be good for you. I think it'll be great. Go, no expectations. Just be. You'll get over the discomfort a lot sooner than you imagine. It'll be okay. You'll be fine. It'll just be uncomfortable the first 5 minutes, and then being naked. It's like have you been to a nude beach before? Yeah. Um, I don't know how it's going to affect you, but I do know that it normalizes very soon. Whether you'll be comfortable or not is something that you'll try to figure out. I think that you will be okay. But either way, go and find out. If you don't like it, then don't stay. You don't have to stay. We're nobody is fucking bras is perfect. Nobody is fucking bras are perfect bodies. Bodies of all shapes and sizes. Yeah. Yeah. Generally, they'll tell you to be naked. They've been more strict with how you get naked than me. It depends on the person at the door. It depends on the night. Depends on the mood. They're generally trying to get everyone to be naked. But if you tell them I really want to be in my underwear, they'll probably agree with them. But I would also recommend if you're there, when alone, be let alone. Excuse me. No worries. 1 a.m. Good luck. Have fun. Let me know how it goes. Yalla, bye bye bye. Sorry, had a call. We do a call tomorrow. stare at my neighbors. Is it a form of